Okay, so for a 2 by 2 matrix, there are two ways to find the inverse, and this is only the case when you have a 2 by 2 matrix. So one way that you can go about finding the inverse for a 2 by 2 matrix is it's going to be 1 over the determinant, and then inside of this new matrix, you reverse the main diagonal and you make negative, you keep the entries as they are, but you make negative the off diagonal. Okay, and this is probably the easier way of finding the inverse for a 2 by 2 when you have a 2 by 2. So what you would do here is you would find your determinant, and your determinant again is where you multiply the main diagonal, so 27 minus, and then the off diagonal, negative 2. Okay, then you would multiply that by this new matrix where you reverse, so you flip, you switch the main diagonal, so 3 and 9 are going to flop positions to give you 9 and 3, and then you keep the off diagonal as it is, but you change signs, so it's going to be negative 1 and positive 2. Okay, so of course this is like 1 over 29, and then 9 to negative 1 and 3. And a lot of times people will just write this as the inverse, so they'll say like A inverse equals this, and they don't distribute the 1 over 29. Of course you could, but they don't really usually do that. Okay, so that's one way of going about it, and that is the easier way of finding the inverse when you have a 2 by 2. However, just for prosperity's sake, if you didn't have that formula memorized, what you would do is you would take A and you would write it right along with the identity, and then you go through your row reduced echelon form. And what will happen is the identity, if the inverse exists, the identity will appear on the left here, and then A inverse will appear on the right. And that's what we're going to have to do when we have a 3 by 3 matrix.